Our first speaker will be Ms. Cecilia Alvarez, APEP Spain, member of CEDPO and EMEA Privacy Policy Director for Facebook. And her presentation is about APEP's mission and activities. Ms. Cecilia, the conference is yours now.
Cecilia, I think that I managed to do the unmute properly. Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for ASCPD to invite me and to be here among friends with Christiana and with Nadia and with others that I have had the opportunity and the pleasure to work along these years. It is my pleasure to present you the association in which I have been working since its foundation. In order for you to see the kind of activities that I'm sure are pretty similar to others that in other organizations and in yours as well you are doing. And with this, I will start. This is just a snapshot of the website that we have been changing so far with the cookie banner, a cookie banner that hopefully is the most appropriate one for data protection purposes, in which you can accept only the technical ones or otherwise to make a rejection of all or an approval of all, and even with respect to the approval of all, you can even have a granular consent of everything. I wanted just to mention this because at the end, when we need as an association to apply what we are doing in our professional lives, sometimes we forget. And definitely this was not as fancy as it was in the original website that we have. And of course, the CEDPO element that you see at the bottom of the snapshot is something extremely relevant. We have been extremely active in Spain, but we know that the things that are happening with respect to having influence on many things, and this happened with respect to the process of the drafting of the GDPR happens in Europe. And this was the need for us to actually join our forces in CEDPO. And I think that this is the main reason why we have some of the organizations that belong to CEDPO present today, because we understand that we cannot and we should not, and this is the beauty probably of Europe, of being able to build together this not only an economic region, but I think a region of understanding, and when we can radiate also very important values that we share, and in particular the data protection one. What is our mission and goals? So APEP was founded with the aim of providing a joint platform initially for the Spanish privacy professionals on common interest. This was not directed at the very beginning to the DPOs, because the DPO was not a statutory figure that existed in Spain until the GDPR was approved. But definitely this has not prevented the profession to grow from very different angles. And we have definitely DPOs, a lot of DPOs right now, but we have also privacy policy persons. This is currently my case, even if I have been a DPO for a certain number of years. In the past, we have academics as well, and we have also students, so junior associations that are actually wanted to deep dive on the subject, thinking that this will be the profession of their future, and I think that they are very right. The main goals of APEP are the three ones that are in the slide: to promote the knowledge and social recognition of data protection and privacy rights. I don't know how long you have been in this profession, but when I started in 1997, this was not sexy at all. We were not the trendy lawyers, or at least in my case, because I am a lawyer. And the social recognition, let's say, of what we were doing was something that was particularly important. I think that the GDPR has been a great platform to provide us with more glamour, but definitely this has also been through the work of many professionals in order to show the importance of the data protection with respect to the two dimensions that this right has. With respect to the moral dimension as a fundamental right, but also the economic dimension. And this is the reason why also many organizations are hopefully now putting much more attention on how personal data is processed, because this is part, the invisible element that enables actually the business to grow and to develop, and hopefully in a respectful manner. The second element was to defend the interests of its members. This was a profession, and still is, not regulated per se. So the DPO came later, but still the DPO is just a series of articles in the GDPR. But there was no association to defend our members. There were associations to defend the lawyers' interest, or the engineers' interest, or the doctor's interest, but no one defending us. And therefore, this was something that we wanted to include as part of our mission. The third one was to provide quality standards to the profession, developing ethical codes and certifications. As you know, the certification element has been part of many discussions, and the GDPR seems to put some more emphasis on the certifications. That has not necessarily led to a successful landscape of certifications yet in data protection, but definitely this has been something that before the GDPR, APEP considered that this was something that could help the professionals to have something that was evidencing or accrediting their knowledge and their practice, because no one was in the university studying privacy. You were studying law, you were studying computer law, you were studying many other things, but you didn't have, let's say, a kind of degree, let's say, in privacy. And therefore, we needed to offer something that may help persons in the professions to show and to credit that they have the knowledge appropriate in order to address the task that were expected from these kind of professionals. Here you have a screenshot of actually the annual report of 2019, because this is the one that is approved in 2020, and we're about to approve the next one, but we're not yet there. But it gives you an idea of the number here of association of members with respect to the persons. This association started with respect to the individuals, because we were wanted to help the individuals, and we have now more than this 914. We are close to 1,000 now of individual members. We enabled the companies to join in a different manner. Actually, in order to help from an economic point of view, if you have several employees who are members, to have a more beneficial rate, actually, instead of paying 3 quotas. But it was really not focused on having organizations. We didn't want to have a company per se, but really focus on the individuals who were fighting at the end of the day, were respected to a market that was very not that strong as it is today. This is some pictures, and the picture is not only for you to see that we, of course, have annual congresses. Well, at the time that we were able to meet physically each other, but it was for you to show you the kind of things in which we have been focusing. We have been focusing on having definitely our DPAs, and I put an S because in Spain, in addition to the Spanish DPA that covers the whole territory, we have in certain regions of Spain DPAs that are competent for the public sector, and they also belong, let's say, to the landscape of the institutional elements of the privacy community in Spain. We have also MPs. This is something that we have realized later, how important it was to have our politicians close. Normally, our politicians don't know anything about data protection or privacy. This is really a field that is really the unknown. They have some ideas with respect to fundamental rights, but definitely they do not necessarily have the knowledge of how this impacts the way in which the organizations need to implement these things. So we wanted to have them at least first listening and hopefully also teaching us things. But the first thing was more education. And this was also something particularly important when we were discussing the Spanish implementation of the GDPR, because we wanted to have this right. And for this, we need to have a better knowledge than the one that we had, at least in Spain, at that time. We have, of course, members, but also non-members. We always love to have our CEDPO partners with us as much as we can, because sometimes we have not been able to do this in different languages, but only in Spanish. And this has limited, of course, the ability with respect to the languages of our members. But the same way that I'm so pleased to be today with you. I am super pleased to receive you in my house, in my home, in APEP as the time goes by. We have, of course, sponsors, because otherwise it is much more difficult to manage with all the cost that the organization of an annual Congress means. And we also have prizes. And this was one of the parts in which we were able to recognize the work that many professionals have been doing in this field, because it is difficult. There were no prizes specific to privacy, right? There were prizes for many things. So it was a way also for us to dignify our protection and to show the importance of the contributions to the society and to our profession of many professionals. We organize a lot of events. This is what an association does, right? Of course, the DPO is at the center of many of our events. The topic, let's say, of elements that are relevant for the DPO. I have taken some examples with respect to things that we made last year, in particular with respect to the DPO in the public sector, because this DPO that is compulsory, as you know, it is probably more difficult than in the private sector. At least in Spain, the public sector is not sanctioned economically. And this has made that the privacy and the data protection professionals in the public sector has been absent until the GDPR imposed this. And it was very difficult, because you cannot engage so easily as it happens in a private company, that now you appoint someone and you find in the market someone who is a professional like this. The public administration has many limits with respect to hiring. And therefore, at the end of the day, is that you were appointed. No matter why you knew or you do not knew anything about data protection. And therefore, this was something in which we put a lot of emphasis with respect to the training and how to help them. Because the experience that we have in the private sector for many years probably was something helpful, and to have also a forum for the public DPOs to have peers that have already been dealing with this regulation. And the kind of problems that we have in the private and the public sector are not so different with respect to personal data. Other events, of course, are related to the impact of the technology in our world. This is, I think, no surprises for anyone with respect to the anonymization and the concept of whether aggregated data is really anonymous or not, with respect to the portability right, with respect to cybersecurity issues that sometimes are common with respect to data protection issues, and with respect to blockchain in the examples that I picked for this slide. Of course, well, I don't know whether it was of course, but it was important for us. The Spanish DPA, the one that operates in the whole state, organizes annual sessions every year that are open to the public in order to receive questions. Normally are also open to more the questions of the privacy professionals, that we have many, with respect to the activity of the DPA, the resolutions, the criteria, and also the problems that are raised in our professional day-to-day. And we were actually invited to be part as the representative of the privacy professionals, and this was something important, because this showed that we have done our work well with respect to this institutional recognition. And this institutional recognition actually also came in a very, I would say, nice manner in our 10th anniversary, in which we created a video by asking different institutions to actually speak about the role of APEP during these years and what they think about our contribution to privacy in general, privacy awareness, and to the defense of the professionals. And of course, this is the size is super small. Second, it is in Spanish. But the thing that I wanted to tell you is here that we have, of course, the director of the Spanish DPA, but we have magistrates, we have members of the government, we have politicians, we have like data protection gurus. In every country we have this kind of persons. All of these persons actually were having very nice words with respect to the recognition of the work that the association has been making. And also our members is what makes our blood. And well, we were asked, each member, to put some word that represent what APEP means for you. There were many. I took one because I think that Spain could be linked or our Latin blood, also with Italians and others, could be probably linked to the passion. But I think this is very true. And this was one of the words that were picked by one of our members, and with the red thing, I thought it was a good idea. I think you should be passionate in your profession in order to do something in your life. So that I picked this one to illustrate. But there are many others that, with the union, with collaboration, with respect, with many others that were actually warm in my heart, because at that time I was the chairwoman of the association, and definitely this was something very nice to see how our members were reacting. What we do, in addition to organizing events, which is a very important part of our work, is to create also services for our members. One of them is the Data Protection Bulletin, in which we have a collection of the kind of data protection activities, events, legislation, case law that is developed. This is something that is issued every day. And actually, even the Spanish DPA asked us to be a part of the distribution letter of this data protection bulletin. What we do as well, we do training, a lot of training. This has been one of the core work that we have been doing here, and we have now many courses that are online, but not because of COVID. We started the online thing a very long time ago, because we have members all along Spain, and of course the capitals make that there is a lot of concentration in Madrid, and also in other cities that are bigger, such as Barcelona. There's a lot of concentration of privacy professionals, and it is easier, let's say, to organize a presential course in which people can go and attend. But for those who are in other regions, this actually was more difficult, because it is costly just to travel and to just leave your day-to-day activities to go to Madrid or to Barcelona in order to have a quality course. So that's why we organize a platform, in order to provide for online courses. And this has proved to be extremely recognized. We have put a lot of emphasis on the kind of professors that we have. And we repeat actually the courses many times in order that people are able to accommodate this to the different times of the day, because almost everyone is already working. And therefore it is always difficult. Maybe you have 1 hour or 2 hours in a day. Sometimes you do not have the whole day to devote to a training course. The certification, as I mentioned at the beginning, was also something extremely important for us. And we wanted to have a certification that was not just paying, which, as we know, there are many certifications that exist there that you pay, and that's it. And the level, let's say, of the kind of of knowledge that you need to prove is not particularly awesome. And we wanted to do it differently. This has made, of course, that to be certified in APEP is not easy. But definitely, if you are, I can assure you that you have the necessary qualifications to provide advice in the right manner. We also serve as a platform to channel job offers. So when entities are looking for privacy professionals, and this is something that the headhunters are normally not well versed in order to find the privacy professionals. They find many others, but they are not that used to find the right ones. So our association also serves to this, in order to let them know that we have offers in order to enable that people find new opportunities, either international or national. We have special committees devoted to certain topics that have been particularly relevant in our activity. One of them is children, and the other one is on the financial sector as well. Zero cost. This was something and that was and it's still very damaging. We have had very unfair practices that were developed in the market by professionals that were using public funds under the label of training in order to actually provide consultancy services in privacy. This enabled them to provide the service for free. Actually, all the Spaniards were paying this because we pay our taxes, because this was a fraud at the end of the day of the subsidies that they were receiving from the state were respected to the training. And this has damaged very much the profession, because these persons are not necessarily well trained, well prepared. And second, the fact that you offer the service is zero cost is also diminishes the value. It's not that we need to have the value of an Hermes tie, but to put this as a Zara tie makes that the value that is perceived with respect to your work is definitely diminished. So we have been fighting very much against this. And one of the things that we made is during the preparation of the Spanish implementation of the GDPR, we pushed very much and we lobbied very much in order to have included a modification of the unfair competition law in Spain in order to introduce these kind of practices in the law. And this is, I can tell you that this is the work of APEP, that is the result of having this provision in our law right now. And what we did, this was the moment in which I was the one in charge of going to the expert commission in which they were choosing experts in the country in order to inform the changes that wanted to be made in the Spanish law in order to implement the GDPR. And as a result of this, in addition to the provision that I mentioned before, we actually were quite successful in introducing many amendments to the proposal at that time. But one of them was to introduce that the DPO's voice should be in the DPA Advisory Board. The DPA Advisory Board has many different professions present, even trade unions, consumer associations, even a representative from the History Academy. But surprise, surprise, the profession of the privacy professionals were not present there. So we managed also to lobby in order that this was something, another voice, another seat in the advisory board, because at the end of the day, we are the first front of how we implement privacy in every organization, in the public and the private sector. And finally, and with this, I will almost finish. Of course, we celebrate our Data Protection Day of the 28th of January. I have put two examples because we have not necessarily done the same kind of format. This year, we have made an event, a virtual event, through the same way that we are doing here today. But in other times, we have made interviews with respect to these data protection gurus. Other times, we have been making articles, academic articles from our APEP community on privacy. Well, we have been following different ways of raising awareness. And this is my last slide. Not only because of what I'm saying this, but this was taken in the ASCPD annual congress, the last one that we had physically in Italy. And we have this well, nice things in order to have like the photo call of well, funny things. And I took this one, and actually interviews of APEP of the passion thing, I took this one for myself. I feel sometimes that the work that we have requires some degree of heroism, either internally in the organization and also on how we are seen externally. And I thought it was a very good way for me to finish my presentation in order to show you the very important links and ties that we have with other organizations, in this case the Italian one, and we were there also with Pascal, with the French one attending. The fact that I miss really to have personal meetings, and the fact that I still consider that we have a very important profession. Thank you very much.